I want to take you on a journey back to the heart of Africa, a journey to reclaim the truth about who we are, where we come from and where we are heading. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why the story of Africa is often told by others, far away from our shores, through the lens of outsiders? Have you ever questioned why our great civilizations, our kings, our queens, our warriors, and our scholars have been erased from the pages of history? Today we will uncover the truth, the secret history of Africa, a history that has been concealed for far too long, hidden from our own eyes, from our own children. We've been made to believe that we are poor, that we are weak, that we have nothing to offer the world. But what if I told you that Africa has always been the cradle of civilization? What if I told you that the wisdom, knowledge and power that once radiated from this land set the course for humanity itself? We were not always in the shadows. We were the light. We were the thinkers, the builders, the healers, the ancient Egyptian scholars, the great empires of Mali and Ghana, the wisdom of Timbuktu. They were us. They are us. But somewhere along the way a darkness was cast over our land, a darkness brought by colonizers, by invaders, by forces who sought to break our spirit, to erase our true identity. They wrote our story as one of suffering, of helplessness, of poverty. But this is not our true story. The time has come to rise, to rewrite our narrative, to take control of our future. I stand here today, not just to expose the secret history of Africa, but to share with you a vision for the future. A vision where we are no longer beggars at the table of others, but the architects of our own destiny. A vision where we reclaim the wealth of our land, the strength of our people, and the brilliance of our minds. We have the resources, we have the talent, we have the unity. It is time to put them to work. My brothers and sisters, the future I see is one of prosperity, of peace and of power. A future where Africa is no longer dependent on the whims of foreign powers, but where we stand tall, united as a continent, as one people, as one force in the world. Our ancestors did not fight for us to be weak. They did not build empires for us to beg for aid. They fought, they bled, they built for us to stand strong, to stand proud. We must learn from our past, but we must not live in it. We must take the lessons from our history, the strength, the resilience, the wisdom, and use them to build a new Africa, an Africa that is not bound by the chains of colonialism or exploitation, but one that is free, powerful, and self-sustaining. This is not just a dream, my friends. This is a reality we can create if we unite, if we work together, if we invest in our own people, in our own children, in our own resources. We will rise. And when we rise, the world will have no choice but to recognize our greatness, our potential, our strength. I ask you to stand with me. Stand with me as we expose the truth. Stand with me as we rebuild our future. Africa's time has come. Our time has come. The world will know that we are not weak, we are not poor, we are Africa, and we are powerful. May Allah guide us. May He give us the strength and the wisdom to rise, and may He bless Africa with the future it truly deserves. My brothers and sisters, as I stand before you today, I want to remind you of something profound. Africa is not a continent born in darkness. We are not a people with a history that starts from nothing. Our roots run deep, far beyond what the world has been led to believe. For centuries, the true story of Africa has been hidden, obscured and rewritten by those who have sought to control us, to shape us in their image, to suppress the brilliance that once flowed through our veins. But it's time to change that. It's time to break the chains of distortion and recover the legacy that is rightfully ours. For too long, we've been taught that we are just a footnote in the pages of history, an afterthought, a place of war, hunger and struggle. We've been told that we are a land of nothing but raw resources, waiting to be exploited, waiting for someone else to define us. This has never been the truth, and it is high time we stop believing it. The time has come to rise up and reclaim the greatness that was ours before colonialism ever set foot on our land. Africa, my people, has always been the cradle of civilization. We are not new to greatness, and we are not strangers to wisdom. From the pyramids of Egypt to the great kingdoms of Mali, Ghana, and Songhai, we built empires that were the envy of the world. Do you know that the first university in the world, the University of Timbuktu, was not in Europe, but in the heart of Africa? Our ancestors were scholars, mathematicians, doctors and architects, who laid the foundation for much of the world's knowledge. Our land was once a beacon of learning, culture and advancement. It was from here that the stars of astronomy were charted, The fields of medicine were expanded, and the arts flourished. The ancient Egyptians were not simply builders of monumental structures, they were intellectuals, philosophers, and scientists, whose discoveries are still being marveled at today. Our ancestors' achievements are countless, yet they've been buried beneath the weight of foreign narratives that seek to diminish our power and our intellect. But even in the face of these distortions, we have never been fully silenced. Despite the colonizers' best efforts to erase our history, our ancestors' stories have lived on in the whispers of the wind, in the drumbeats of our culture, and in the strength of our spirit. We carry their memory in our hearts. They have passed down their wisdom, their resilience, and their pride through generations, waiting for the moment when we would wake up, when we would look in the mirror and see who we truly are. That moment is now. When we reclaim our history, we are not just digging through the dusty pages of a forgotten past. We are reconnecting with the very essence of who we are. We are drawing strength from the great empires and civilizations that came before us. We are reminding ourselves that we did not come from nothing. Our legacy is rich, and it stretches across continents and oceans. The legacies of Africa are not stories to be told only in whispers, but should be shouted from every corner of the world. This is not a call to romanticize the past, but to honor it. We must learn from the mistakes of history, and there were many, but we must also acknowledge the brilliance that emerged from our ancestors. We must embrace the fullness of our history, not only the moments of suffering but the times of triumph. The empires that stood tall, the wisdom that shaped the world, and the innovations that changed the course of history. We did not stumble into greatness by accident. It was in our blood, in our nature, in our will to rise. We are told time and time again that we are a developing continent, that we are still in need of aid, of guidance, of help. But the truth is we've always been self-sufficient, and we are more than capable of standing on our own feet. We were once the builders of the world, and we are capable of doing so again. Africa is rich, not just in minerals but in knowledge, in culture and in spirit. Our continent is vast, filled with resources that are both material and intellectual. Our minds have always been fertile grounds for innovation. But it all starts with believing in our own history. When we look at the past, we cannot allow others to dictate the narrative. The history of Africa does not begin with the arrival of colonizers. It doesn't begin with the capture of our ancestors and the arrival of foreign ships on our shores. Our history began long before that, and it is time for us to step forward and take our rightful place as the heirs to a rich and powerful legacy. We must tell our children the truth about who they are. We must teach them the real history of our people, the empires of Mali, the scholarship of Timbuktu, the strength of the great kings and queens who led our ancestors to greatness. They must know that Africa was once the beating heart of the world, a source of learning, culture and wealth that the world recognized. If we want our children to grow up proud, we must give them the knowledge that they are the descendants of greatness. I am not here to ask for pity. I am not here to tell you that Africa's story is a sad one. I am here to tell you that we are a people of strength, of wisdom, and of power. I am here to tell you that we have always been at the forefront of progress. I am here to remind you that the light of Africa is not gone, it has only been dimmed, and now is the time for us to reignite it. We are not the victims of history. We are the victors. And as we reclaim our history, as we uncover the truth of our past, we will find the courage to rebuild our future. This is not just a battle for the past, it is a battle for the future, for an Africa that stands tall once again, proud of its heritage, and ready to take its place as the center of the world once more. This is our time. Let the world know that the greatness of Africa is not just a memory, it is a living, breathing force. Let the world know that Africa is ready to shine again, and that we will no longer accept a story that does not belong to us. It's time to take back our history. It's time to reclaim our legacy. It's time to rise again. My brothers and sisters, today we face one of the greatest challenges of our time, to break free from the false narratives that have been woven around us for centuries. These narratives have told us that Africa is a continent of nothing but poverty, chaos and suffering, a land of weak nations and helpless people. But let me tell you something, this is not the truth. This is the lie that colonialism has taught the world, and it is a lie we must expose, a lie we must unmask, for it has stolen our pride, our power and our potential. Africa has always been rich. We have been rich in resources, in culture and in wisdom. We have gold, diamonds, oil, fertile lands, and rivers that have nourished civilizations for millennia. We were never a land of scarcity, but one of abundance. But somewhere along the way, this truth was distorted, manipulated, and erased. The colonialists needed a justification for their actions. They needed to convince the world that we were not capable of managing our own resources, that we were too primitive, too backward to rule ourselves. And so they painted us as weak, as inferior, as a people in desperate need of their help, but we are not the helpless people they made us out to be. The colonial powers came to Africa not to help, but to exploit. They came with a false promise of bringing civilization to our lands, but all they brought with them was destruction, division, and domination. They destroyed our kingdoms, they erased our histories, and they looted our resources. They took what they wanted from our land, without a single thought for the people who lived on it, without any respect for the cultures they were uprooting. And after they had stripped Africa of its wealth, they left us in the dust, weakened and divided, while they built their own empires from the riches they had stolen from us. For centuries, the colonial powers propagated the myth that Africa was poor, that our people were incapable of self-governance, and that we needed their intervention to survive. But what they did not want the world to see was the wealth we possessed, long before they ever set foot on our shores. Africa was never a land of darkness, as they painted it. It was a land of light, full of vibrant cultures, thriving kingdoms, and powerful empires. The ancient Egyptians, the Mali Empire, the Kingdom of Axum, and so many others, these were not the creations of a people in need of foreign intervention. These were the creations of a people who had learned to thrive in their environment, who had built advanced systems of governance, trade and culture. It was not the help of the colonizers that lifted us. It was our own ingenuity, our own strength, our own wisdom. And yet through their lies and their propaganda, they succeeded in making the world believe that we were a people who had nothing to offer, that we had no wealth, no power, no potential. They convinced the world that Africa was a land of helpless people waiting for foreign saviors. But in truth, we were the ones who built the civilizations, the ones who had the knowledge, and the ones who had the power. The colonial narrative was not about civilizing Africa. It was about stealing our wealth and keeping us from realizing our own strength. When the colonizers left, they didn't just leave behind broken infrastructure and economies. They left behind a legacy of lies. They taught us to view ourselves through their lens, to believe that we were lesser, that our ways of life were inferior. And even now, in the post-colonial era, we still feel the effects of these lies. Many of us still believe that we are weak, that we are poor, that we cannot stand on our own 2 feet. But I tell you this, these lies are no longer enough to hold us down. It's time for us to reject the false narrative they've created. It's time to stop looking at ourselves through their eyes and start looking at ourselves through our own. We are not a continent of suffering, but one of strength. We are not a people who are doomed to poverty, but a people with the resources, the talent, and the will to rise above our challenges. We have everything we need to thrive, not just survive but to thrive. We have the land, the labor, the creativity, and most importantly, we have the spirit of resilience that has carried us through centuries of hardship. We've been told that Africa is a land of scarcity, but we know better. Look at the riches beneath our feet, the oil in Nigeria, the diamonds in South Africa, the gold in Ghana, the cocoa in Ivory Coast. These are not just commodities. These are the fruits of our land, the inheritance of our people. And yet for so long, we've allowed foreign powers to benefit from these resources, while we've been left with scraps. They've taken our wealth and left us with the consequences: poverty, conflict, and underdevelopment. But no more. We will no longer allow them to feed off of us. We will take what is ours and use it to build a future for ourselves and our children. We've been told that we are weak, but we know that we have the strength to stand up and build our own destiny. We've been told that we cannot govern ourselves, that we need foreign intervention to solve our problems. But look at the leaders of Africa. Look at the progress we've made. Look at the entrepreneurs, the farmers, the educators, the doctors, the engineers, and the thinkers who are rising up across this continent. Africa is not a place of helplessness. It is a place of power, of creativity, of innovation. It's time to expose the colonial lie for what it is: a tool of control, a mechanism to keep us dependent, a way to prevent us from realizing our full potential. The colonial powers are long gone, but their lies continue to linger, to influence how we see ourselves and how the world sees us. But now we are waking up, we are realizing the truth, and we are starting to change the narrative. We are not poor, we are not weak, we are not helpless, we are Africa, and we are rich beyond measure. Not just in resources, but in spirit and culture, and in history. It's time to show the world who we truly are. It's time to expose the lie and take our place on the world stage, not as beggars, but as builders, as leaders, as equals. Africa's time has come. It's time to rise. My brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to you from the heart, to call upon every soul that feels the weight of our history, and to remind you of something powerful. We are not just individuals scattered across this great land. We are not just people divided by borders, languages or cultures. We are one. We are Africa. And it is time for us to understand this truth fully and embrace it with everything we have. For too long we have allowed ourselves to be divided. We've allowed the colonial powers, the invaders, and even our own internal differences to drive wedges between us. We've allowed ourselves to be separated by the lines they drew on maps, lines that have no meaning other than to divide and conquer. Whether you are from the north, the south, the east, or the west, you are African. We are not enemies, we are family. We share the same struggles, the same hopes, the same dreams, and if we are to rebuild Africa, if we are to create the future we deserve, we must do so together. Unity is not just a word, it is the key to our strength. It is the foundation upon which we can build everything. When we come together, when we recognize that our futures are intertwined, we unlock a power that is unimaginable. Think about it. Africa is a vast continent, rich in resources, in knowledge, in people. We are a continent that holds the keys to the future of the world. But all of this potential, all of this power has been scattered, divided, misused. The world has seen our divisions, and has taken advantage of them, turning our differences into weaknesses, playing on our rivalries and our disunity. But it is time for that to end. It is time for us to realize that the power to change Africa is already in our hands, already in our hearts. The resources we need to transform our continent are not somewhere out of reach. They are already here, in our soil, in our rivers, in our people. Our talent, our creativity, our energy are more than enough to make us a global force. But only if we unite, only if we come together and reject the forces that want to keep us apart. Look at our history, look at what we were capable of when we stood united. When the great kingdoms of Mali, Ghana and Songhai ruled over vast territories, they did so with strength. Not just military strength, but strength born of unity. Unity among peoples of different cultures, languages and traditions. We were powerful not because of the wealth we had, but because we understood the value of working together. The world respected us because we were united, because we spoke with one voice, because we stood as one people. That unity is still within us. It is in our blood, in our history, in the way we greet each other, the way we celebrate, the way we mourn. Africa has always been a land of community, a place where the collective is stronger than the individual. Our villages, our families, our tribes, they have always relied on one another. And now we must extend that spirit of cooperation, of community, to the whole continent. This is the moment to shed the shackles of division and build something new, something stronger, something that the world cannot ignore. Think about the vastness of our land. From the deserts of the Sahara in the north, to the lush rainforests of the Congo, from the coasts of the Atlantic, to the savannas of East Africa. We are a continent that stretches over 30 million square kilometers, with over 1.3 billion people. We have everything we need to succeed, but we must act as one. We must act with a singular purpose. When we unite, the world will see us not as fragmented, struggling nations, but as a powerful collective force that cannot be overlooked. We are a continent of youth, with over 60% of our population under the age of 25. This is not a burden. It is a blessing. Our young people are the energy, the hope and the future of Africa. But their potential will remain untapped if we do not give them the space to rise together. We must create opportunities, not just for individuals, but for entire communities, entire nations. We must build a future where the youth of Africa can look to each other, not with envy or competition, but with solidarity, with the knowledge that they are part of something bigger than themselves. We have everything to gain from unity. The resources that are scattered across our continent, our oil, our minerals, our agriculture can be harnessed for the benefit of all of Africa, not just for a few. The economies of our countries can be strengthened through cooperation, through shared knowledge, through shared industries. We can build infrastructure that connects us, roads, railways, energy grids that unite us as a single thriving continent. And when we unite, we also gain the power to negotiate on the world stage, to demand what is rightfully ours, to stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's greatest powers. No longer will we be at the mercy of others. We will set our own terms. I know that this is not an easy task. I know that we have our differences, different languages, different cultures, different ways of life. But these differences should not be seen as barriers. They are strengths. Our diversity is not something to be feared, but something to be celebrated. When we unite, we can learn from each other, grow from each other, and strengthen each other. In unity there is power. When we come together, we show the world that Africa is not just a place of conflict, but a place of cooperation, of innovation, and of growth. We show the world that we are not a collection of fragmented, struggling nations, but a united force that is ready to take its place in the world. We will no longer be looked down upon, no longer be seen as the world's charity case. We will rise. And when we rise, we will rise together. So I ask you, my brothers and sisters, to stand with me, stand with each other. Stand for Africa. Let us build a future where our children inherit, not a continent divided by borders and conflicts, but one united by purpose, by strength and by love for one another. Let us come together, not just as individuals, but as one African people, working together for a brighter tomorrow. This is our time. This is our moment. Let us unite, for in unity, we will find the strength to change the world. My brothers and sisters, as I stand before you today, I want to speak directly to the heart of Africa's future, our youth. They are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are the leaders of today. The future of Africa does not lie in the hands of politicians or businessmen alone. It lies in the hands of our children, our young people, the ones who will carry our dreams and our struggles into the years ahead. But this future, this bright and promising future, will only be possible if we empower them, if we give them the tools they need to rise above the challenges they face, and if we support them in becoming the generation that transforms our continent. For too long, we have looked at our youth through the wrong lens. We have seen them as a problem, as a burden, as a generation struggling to find their way. But I tell you today, our youth are not the problem, they are the solution. They are the answer to Africa's greatest challenges, and they hold the key to unlocking the continent's true potential. They are full of ideas, full of energy, full of ambition. They are ready to build the Africa we dream of. But we must be the ones to give them the opportunity. We have an entire generation of young people who are brimming with creativity, with a hunger for knowledge, and with the desire to make a difference. But how many of them have access to the education they deserve? How many of them are given the chance to nurture their talents and follow their dreams? We cannot expect our youth to rise if we do not provide them with the tools they need. Education is the foundation, and it must be our first priority. It is not enough to simply build more schools. We must ensure that the education they receive is meaningful, that it prepares them for the challenges of the future, and that it ignites their passion for learning and discovery. In many parts of Africa, our children are still walking miles to school without proper resources, sitting in overcrowded classrooms with outdated materials, and facing an education system that does not always speak to the realities of the modern world. This is not just an issue of infrastructure, it is an issue of opportunity. Every child, no matter where they come from, deserves the opportunity to learn, to grow and to succeed. We must invest in education that is accessible, that is modern, and that is relevant to the world they will inherit. The future is digital, it is innovative, and it is global. If our youth are to compete in that world, they must be equipped with the skills and the knowledge to do so. But education alone is not enough. We must also foster a culture of innovation. Africa has always been a land of creativity. Our artists, our storytellers, our builders have always found ways to make something from nothing, to create from the resources at hand. This spirit of innovation is within us, but it must be nurtured. We must invest in the sciences, in technology, in engineering, in entrepreneurship. We must create an environment where our young people can dream without limits, where they can create solutions to the problems they see around them, and where they can build businesses and technologies that will drive Africa forward. We have the resources, we have the talent, and we have the need. But we also need to create the platforms for our youth to rise. This means supporting young entrepreneurs, providing them with access to capital, to networks, to mentorship. This means opening doors to the arts, to sports, to every field where young people can excel. This means giving them the space to fail, to learn, and to grow, knowing that every mistake is a lesson, and every challenge is an opportunity. We cannot afford to let our youth remain idle. The youth bulge in Africa is not a threat, it is an opportunity. It is a chance to build a workforce that is vibrant, energetic, and ready to drive the continent forward. But for this to happen, we must invest in the future of our young people, and that investment begins with us. It begins with prioritizing youth-friendly policies, with investing in their development, and with ensuring that they have the skills and resources to thrive. But it's not just about the formal education system. It's about empowering young people to take ownership of their future. We need to instill in them a sense of responsibility, of self-reliance, and of pride in their heritage. We need to teach them that they are not merely the inheritors of a broken past, but the architects of a bright and promising future. Africa's history is filled with examples of great leaders, thinkers, and revolutionaries. Our youth must know that they are part of this great legacy, that they too can rise to greatness, that they too can create movements that change the world. We must also encourage them to be leaders in their communities. Leadership is not just about politics, it's about taking action, about being a voice for those who are voiceless, about standing up for what is right. It is about having the courage to challenge the status quo and to work towards something better. Our youth must be taught that leadership begins in their homes, in their neighborhoods, in their schools. It is about making a difference in the lives of those around them, and understanding that every small act of kindness, every act of courage, contributes to the greater good. But even as we empower our youth, we must not forget that the challenges they face are not just internal. The world we live in is a global one, and we must prepare our youth to compete on that stage. Africa must not just be a place that exports raw materials. We must become a hub of innovation, a center of global business, a place where technology and culture meet. This requires a shift in mindset, a focus on building industries that add value, on fostering an entrepreneurial spirit that can compete globally. We must encourage our youth to think beyond borders, to think beyond the limitations of their immediate environments. They must be citizens of the world, with a vision that stretches far beyond the horizons of Africa. The youth of Africa are our greatest resource, our greatest hope, and our greatest strength. But they will only reach their full potential if we give them the space, the resources, and the support they need. It is time for us to stop seeing our youth as a burden and to start seeing them as the solution to our problems. They are the ones who will create the businesses, the technologies, the governments, and the movements that will transform this continent. If we invest in them, if we believe in them, Africa will shine brighter than ever before. Let us empower them now, and let them build the future we all deserve. My brothers and sisters, today I stand before you with a powerful message. Africa has everything we need to be truly free. We have been blessed with an abundance of resources. Resources that could make us one of the most prosperous continents on earth. Yet for too long, we have allowed ourselves to be dependent on foreign aid, on investments from those who see us as nothing more than a source of cheap labor and raw materials. But I am here to tell you, Africa does not need to rely on anyone else. We do not need charity, and we do not need handouts. What we need is the courage to harness our own resources, to unlock our potential, and to build an economy that serves the interests of our people. The truth is, Africa is rich beyond measure. We are a continent overflowing with natural wealth, oil in the north, diamonds and gold in the south, vast agricultural lands and a wealth of minerals that the world needs. Our rivers, our forests, our vast plains, they are all treasures that belong to us. Yet for so long these resources have been taken from us without a fair return. We have been exploited, and instead of using our resources to lift ourselves up, we have allowed others to control our wealth and dictate our future. But no more. It is time for us to take control of what is rightfully ours. We have the power to transform our economy, to create industries, jobs and opportunities that benefit our people. We do not need foreign aid to survive. We do not need to beg for assistance from those who see us as a charity case. What we need is the will to invest in our own people, to use our resources wisely, and to create an economic system that empowers every African. We are a continent that produces vast amounts of oil, gas and minerals. These are not resources to be exploited and exported. They are resources to be refined and used within our own borders. Why should we send our raw materials abroad to be processed when we can do it ourselves? Why should we allow foreign companies to make billions off of our land while our people remain in poverty? We have the expertise, the labor and the land to build refineries, factories and processing plants right here in Africa. We can create an economy that is self-sustaining, one that is driven by our own resources and our own industry. But it's not just about oil and minerals. Africa's land is fertile and vast. We can grow enough food not only to feed ourselves but to feed the world. Our agriculture sector has been neglected for too long. We have allowed ourselves to import food, even though we have the land and the climate to grow everything we need. From wheat to maize, from rice to vegetables, our farms can produce enough to make us self-sufficient in food. But to do that, we must invest in modern farming techniques, in irrigation, and in infrastructure. We must support our farmers, give them the tools they need to increase productivity, and ensure that the fruits of their labor stay in Africa. We should not be importing food that we could easily grow ourselves. We have the land and we have the people to make this happen. In addition to our agricultural potential, we also have an incredible opportunity in renewable energy. Africa is blessed with sunlight, wind and vast water resources, solar power, wind farms, hydroelectric dams. These are all technologies that we can harness to power our homes, our industries, and our economies. Yet we continue to rely on imported fuel and electricity from abroad. This is a cycle we must break. We have the resources to become a global leader in renewable energy. Imagine an Africa that generates its own power, one that does not rely on imported oil, coal or gas to fuel its growth. By investing in renewable energy, we can create jobs, reduce our dependence on foreign sources of energy, and protect the environment for future generations. But economic independence is not just about natural resources. It is about creating a system that encourages entrepreneurship, that fosters innovation, and that rewards hard work. We must build an economy that supports local businesses, small enterprises, and startups. Africa is full of young people with ideas, with creativity, with the drive to succeed. But too often they are held back by a lack of access to capital, to markets, and to the support they need to turn their ideas into reality. We need to create an environment that allows businesses to thrive, one that provides access to financing, to mentorship, and to the tools needed to succeed. At the same time, we must ensure that our industries remain in African hands. Too often, foreign companies come into our countries, extract our resources, and leave without investing in the local community. This has to stop. We must create policies that encourage foreign investment, but also ensure that the benefits of that investment stay within our borders. We need to ensure that the wealth generated by our resources is reinvested in our people, in our infrastructure, and in our industry. We cannot afford to allow our resources to be exploited without giving something back to the communities that provide them. Self-sufficiency is also about creating a strong, diversified economy. We cannot rely on one sector, whether it's oil, mining, or agriculture, to drive our growth. We need to build a diversified economy that includes manufacturing, technology, services, and tourism. We need to support sectors that add value to our resources, that create jobs, and that allow us to compete in the global market. We must focus on education and skills development to ensure that our young people are equipped for the industries of the future, from technology to green energy to advanced manufacturing. And let us not forget the importance of trade within Africa itself. Africa is a vast continent, with 54 nations, each with its own potential, each with its own strengths. But for too long, we have relied on trade with the outside world, while neglecting intra-Africa trade. We must build stronger economic ties between our countries, remove the barriers to trade, and create a common market where goods and services can flow freely across borders. By doing this, we will create a stronger, more resilient Africa, one that is less dependent on foreign markets and better able to withstand global economic fluctuations. We have the resources, we have the talent, we have the drive. What we need now is the vision to build an Africa that is self-sufficient, that is independent, and that is free from the control of outside forces. This is the only way we will truly be free. Economic independence is the key to our future. It is the key to unlocking the full potential of our continent, to ensuring that every African has the opportunity to live a life of dignity and prosperity. We can no longer afford to be dependent on others. The time has come for Africa to stand on its own 2 feet, to build an economy that works for all of us, and to ensure that the wealth of our continent benefits our people, not foreign powers. Let us rise and claim our independence, not just politically but economically. The future of Africa is in our hands, and it is time for us to take control. My brothers and sisters, I stand before you today with a vision that burns in my heart and fills me with hope for our future. The future of Africa does not have to be one of dependency, poverty, or suffering. The future of Africa is one of empowerment, of unity, and of strength. We are not a continent destined to beg for help, to rely on foreign handouts, or to be at the mercy of others. No, we are a continent destined to rise, to build our own future, and to stand proudly on the world stage as equals. This is not just a dream, this is a reality that we can and must create. We have all the resources, all the talent and all the potential we need to build a prosperous future for ourselves. But to do so we must first change the way we think about ourselves, about our continent and about the world. We must see Africa not as a place of poverty, but as a land of limitless possibilities. We must see Africa not as a place of despair, but as a place of hope and opportunity. We must believe in ourselves, and in each other, as the foundation for the future we deserve. Imagine a future where Africa is united, not divided by borders and conflicts, but standing together as one. A united Africa, with all its diverse peoples, languages and cultures, working hand in hand to create something greater than the sum of its parts. In this future, we do not look to the outside world for validation or aid. Instead, we look within our communities, within our nations and within our people, for the strength to build the Africa we dream of. A united Africa is a strong Africa, and it is only by coming together that we will unlock the full potential of our continent. This is a vision where we do not wait for the world to give us a seat at the table. We create our own table. We do not ask for permission to succeed. We seize the opportunities that are already before us. We are not beggars on the global stage, but powerful nations that command respect for the wealth, the wisdom and the resources we possess. The world does not give Africa what it deserves. It takes our resources, it takes our labor, and it takes our time. But the time has come for us to take back what is ours. The time has come for Africa to stand up, to rise, and to take control of its destiny. In this future, Africa's economy is not based on the exploitation of our people or our land. It is an economy built on self-sufficiency, on the ability to meet our own needs, and to provide for our own people. We have the natural resources, oil, minerals, fertile land, renewable energy, and we have the people, the talent and the drive to build industries that turn these resources into wealth. We no longer send our raw materials abroad, only to buy back the finished products at a higher price. We will build the infrastructure, the factories and the industries that will keep the wealth in Africa, creating jobs, creating opportunities, and creating prosperity for our people. No longer will Africa be a continent of consumers. We will become a continent of creators, innovators and builders. This new vision also includes a shift in the way we approach education. Our youth are not just the future, they are the present, and they are the ones who will lead us into this new era. But they cannot do this without the tools, the knowledge and the skills to succeed. We must invest in their education, in their training and their development. We must create systems that empower our young people to dream big, to think critically, and to innovate. We need schools and universities that teach not only the past but also the future, skills in technology, science, engineering and the arts, that will allow them to shape the world and build an Africa that is strong, sustainable, and self-reliant. In this vision, Africa is a place of thriving communities. Our people are not just surviving, they are thriving. We will build healthcare systems that care for the sick and the elderly, that provide access to medicine and that invest in the health of our people. We will invest in infrastructure, roads, electricity, clean water and internet access, so that every African can live with dignity, can have the opportunity to work, to grow and to prosper. We will build cities that are not only modern and sustainable, but that reflect the unique beauty, creativity, and spirit of Africa. These cities will be places of opportunity, of innovation and of light. No longer will our people have to leave their homes, their lands and their communities in search of a better life elsewhere. We will create that better life here, in Africa where we belong. But this vision is not just about economics and infrastructure. It is also about the power to control our own narrative. For too long, the story of Africa has been told by outsiders. Those who have exploited our resources and our people. Those who have cast us as the poor, the weak and the helpless. This is a lie. Africa is not poor. Africa is not weak. Africa is rich in history, in culture and in spirit. Our ancestors built great kingdoms, created extraordinary art and architecture, and advanced knowledge in mathematics, astronomy and medicine. It is time for us to take control of our own story, to tell the world the truth about who we are and what we are capable of. We are not a continent to be pitied or patronized. We are a continent to be respected, to be admired and to be emulated. This vision also means that Africa will no longer be a continent torn apart by conflict and division. We are not enemies. We are brothers and sisters, bound by the same history, the same struggles, and the same dreams. We must reject the divisions that have been imposed upon us, whether by colonial powers, by political leaders, or by economic interests, and embrace our common humanity. Africa's strength lies in its unity, in its ability to come together despite its differences, and to move forward with a shared purpose. A united Africa is unstoppable, and it is only through unity that we will achieve the prosperity, the peace and the power that we deserve. This is the Africa I envision, a united, prosperous and powerful continent that commands respect on the world stage. It is a future where we no longer beg for help, but build our own future. A future where we take our place among the great nations of the world, where we no longer allow others to control our destiny, but where we control it ourselves. This is the Africa I know is possible. This is the Africa we must build together. It is time to rise, to claim our place, and to create the future we deserve. Together, we can make this vision a reality. Together, we will shape the Africa of tomorrow, an Africa that stands tall, proud, and free.